in a Zoom meeting, so let's hope that this works. Okay, the output is green. I see... Alright, let's say hello to some people in the chat. We have Backsplash Studio, Digimer in the house as our faithful admin, Kaylee Noia, and JC Cannon. And now I'm hearing myself, and that's super awkward. Okay, there we go. Alright, I've muted it. Okay, hi everyone. My name is Nerdmaid Faith, and joined with me is the wonderful... Courtney Mermaid, Vancouver Mermaid, you guys all know her. And we are here to talk about, this is going to be a different tale tea time because we are having, oh, Bryson's here, hello. We are going to be having a special live stream that I decided to do an hour ago about a kind of topic that's been coming up in the mermaid community this last day or two, and that is, do professional mermaids need certifications, and what makes a professional mermaid? And we have Mermaid, Narnia, Chili Squad, Caitlin Faust, Milky Way, Sunflower, Joshua, Jay Cannon, Stephanie, and Cassie Girl. And so we're probably not going to be reading the chat a whole bunch unless it's on topic, so try and stay on topic with this because this is going to be a little bit more of a kind of address to the community and people who want to mermaid or be a professional mermaid. So if you guys don't know, I make YouTube... Okay, you guys do know. I make YouTube videos, I make reviews, I have a Patreon, I have an Etsy shop. I do mermaiding, and it's kind of a job. It's kind of like my side gig, my side hustle. So I do, in some sense, consider myself to be a professional mermaid, because I am making money off of mermaiding. What about you, Courtney? Yes, in fact, if you would ever want anything from Shop Vancouver Mermaid, she has beautiful mermaid tails that she sells. There's one right there. Shh, it's fine. Uh-oh, we can't hear Courtney. That's not good. Wait a second. Oh, I'm an idiot. Courtney's going through my headphones. Alright, test it, Courtney.
Oh, hello, hello. Can anybody hear me?
Wow, I'm a big... I'm a big stupid... I'm like, I'll wear headphones for audio purposes. And then I realized that Courtney is coming in through my headphones, and I can hear it.
That's crazy. I wonder if there's like a way to do both. I don't know.
Yeah, that's okay.
Crazy.
I'm smart. Oh yeah. Okay, so the audio might be a bit
cool. And other sundry good stuff, coaching, the whole nine. So I do consider myself a professional mermaid.
Yes.
And I should be looking at my camera because professionals look at the camera, not at their face down here. Very awkward.
Professional YouTubers.
Yeah. Are we professional?
Oh yeah, totally. And so in some online forums and stuff, there's been discussions about if you need to have certifications, a Mersona, XYZ, to be a professional mermaid. And I think that a lot of what people have come to mind is when the term professional mermaid comes up is someone who swims at birthday parties, does performances, does events, does shows. That sort of like is generally what professional mermaid means. And so there's been a lot of talk about like, oh, do you need certifications or is it more sort of a fake it till you'll make it sort of deal? And then there's a lot of people that call themselves professional mermaids who, you know, are well-known mermaids on Instagram, social media, that sort of thing, and, but people who maybe don't, or who maybe do it more, like full-time, like, as, you know, doing gigs and stuff, might be a little annoyed about that when people call themselves pro-mermaids. And so we just kind of wanted to address some of the misconceptions about that, and talk about what makes a mermaid and what makes a pro-mermaid.
Absolutely, because I think it's also this, I don't know, it became kind of a thing, right? When everybody was like, oh wait, you can do this as a job, and then everybody wants to be considered professional. Now, there's nothing wrong with being a hobbyist mermaid, doing this as a hobby. It doesn't make you any less of a mermaid.
Louder for the people in the back!
It doesn't make you any less of a mermaid if you're doing this just as a hobby. You know, the people who do it as a job, I guess, just wanted to take it to a level where they could sustain themselves doing specifically that, which is what I wanted to do.
Because
but well, but it's just so funny because, you know, it became this thing. So people would they find the community, they're like, okay, I'm gonna do this. And this is so true of not just our community, like there are so many other communities out there that deal with this.
Yeah.
But it's like they see somebody doing it and they're like, okay, I'm gonna go do that specifically. And then everybody gets their tail and immediately is like, okay, I'm a professional now. So it's kind of this gray area. At what point are you considered a professional mermaid versus somebody who's just getting into it, getting started? And I don't know. We all know how I feel about like elitism and things in our community, but that's a whole kettle of fish right there.
Yeah. So I think Oh my gosh, it's something else. It's something else, and yeah, it's so true in a lot of different communities. Because for myself, when I got into mermaiding, I was a 16-year-old dork. And I was like, mermaids in Vancouver in Canada. And I found you. And you were like, I do parties and I swim. And I followed some of your swim tutorials. And I was like, hell yeah. I'm like, I want to do that. And you like had the, YouTube thing down pat and the Patreon thing. And I was like, that is really cool that she's doing this as a job. And obviously, at that point, it definitely wasn't your main job. You had still your, animation artist career. Like, were you able to sustain yourself on Mermaid YouTube back in 2016, Courtney?
Are you crazy? I can barely do it now. Like, if I didn't have, I'm a itty YouTuber. You know what? I've got revenue streams coming from 15 different places. YouTube does not sustain me, that's for sure. If I lost everything else and just lived off of YouTube, like, that's like groceries for like 1 week and that's it. But you know what I mean? So it's just an interesting thing, but like there is an aspect of fake it until you make it. I think it's really important as long as you're not ever trying to pull the wool over somebody's eyes and be like, oh yes, I've got 25 years of experience. That is a different kind of faking it. Like that's like fraudulent. You know what I mean? Like
story.
Faking it until, a whole other thing, right? But faking it until you make it is more, in my mind, the mentality of come at it like you're doing it already. Envision that for yourself. Put everything into it like this is already a success and it will eventually become a success because you create more of what you focus on. But I don't know. Some people, like, take it in a different kind of a way, I guess. I don't know.
Well, when I was, like going back to, like, 16-year-old Faith and seeing Courtney and how you did it, like, as something that was feasible as a way to make money, I was like, oh my gosh, that's the dream. That's the goal. Like, I wanted to be a professional mermaid. I had no idea what that would look like. Or, I thought, I was like, I'm going to do birthday parties because I've got this whole birthday party certification thing job at my other job. And, it's going to be great. And, like, birthday parties as mermaids. And I saw that Mermaid Lolly said, I only called myself a professional once I had a few paid gigs, which is a good point. I was like, I want to make money off of mermaiding, I want to do gigs, I want to do stuff, and I found that I actually wanted to define myself as a professional mermaid by doing mermaid as a profession, by helping the community, by making a community, by growing, by teaching people, by, essentially doing this. And it's all possible thanks to you guys, and the support and mentorship of my wonderful friend Courtney.
We love all of you.
Yes, you guys are the best. And so, like, 100%, it is a dream for someone to be a professional mermaid. And, like, there's so many dream jobs out there. And, like, I think that drawing, like, sort of, like, this gatekeeping and, like, elitism thing towards someone who, like, genuinely has a goal and is working towards it, and then, in the way that you said, Courtney, like, acting like you're already there as success. In order to make yourself a success, I don't think we should discredit that. Like, if someone is genuinely trying and, like, working towards it, and taking all the steps that, in their way, is the, they think is their best course of action to succeed at what they want to do, like, I don't think we should discredit people just because they don't have the same thing that you do as someone who's been, like, for example, like, a tail designer. Like, Courtney, if there's someone who, like, is self-taught in Photoshop and makes fin-fun tails, fin-fun tail designs, and they call themselves a professional tail designer, are you going to discredit that because they've made $20 off of a commission, whereas you've made XYZ doing mermaid tail making and designing and art for, like, 10 years?
Yeah, for sure. It's such an interesting area because the job that I had before this was in animation and design, and specifically in character design was my area of expertise, but it's the exact same thing, and it comes down to who you are as a person more than your credentials in that field. Especially, you know, you could be going up against somebody who's got, you know, a degree in animation, which is a thing, by the way, and you know, if you're a better, like not a better person, like a nicer person, you're easier to deal with, you're easier to work with, you know, you're the person who's going to get the job. Credentials doesn't have anything to do with that. And you know, I've got 10-ish plus around, I've lost track now, 10 years of experience in the animation industry. And I don't consider myself to be any better than anybody else who's out there making mermaid tales. You know what I mean? Because I'm only trying to worry about me and my nonsense and my journey and my stuff. And the experience only helps, you know, add to what I'm doing, right? So I think that's kind of the point. But I would never tell somebody like, oh, you can't be a professional. Like, I was calling myself a professional tale maker even when I was making tales for me and my friends, right? You know what I mean? Because I knew that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I was going to do it. And I'm envisioning it and I'm putting it in there. I never said it to be, you know, like lying to people or anything like that, but it's sometimes you want to put yourself in those shoes so that you can in fact move forward. But it's when you are literally just like, I don't know, it's such a gray, like a fine line, very, very light gray.
So, okay.
that you cross, you know?
So, Courtney, so you consider yourself a professional mermaid. Was that Eric? Hi, Eric.
Yeah, okay, sorry guys, you won't be able to hear him because he doesn't have a mic.
Being a professional.
Oh my god.
There he is.
Being a professional is about associating yourself with other professionals. That's all it is. If you look it up by association in the dictionary, okay?
He did.
If you want to be something, you need to associate yourself with that type of thing. That's what makes you a professional.
Eric out. Mic drop. Sorry, guys. Bartender in the house. That's what happens when you all work from home at the same time.
He going crazy.
But it's a good point, though. It's a good point, though. Associating yourself around the right kind of energy. So.
Yes. Now forget all the zen and the you know, that sort of stuff, and the spirituality and philosophy of it all. Like, when it comes down to it, like, so. Say someone really likes mermaids. They love being a mermaid. They love hobbyists. And they love mermaid art. And they're gonna call themselves a professional mermaid. Do they need, like, to be freedive certified and, like, you know, qualified to do scuba and first aid and all that? Does that, like, discredit them as a professional if they don't have them as, like, someone who's making their living being an artist?
I honestly think that it's like, okay, so where you need your credentials is going to depend on what the heck it is you're actually doing as a mermaid. Okay?
What?
Ding, ding, ding!
Wait, hold up. You're saying that there's different types of professional mermaids and every situation requires different things?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that you can't, oh my gosh, somebody's calling me. I'm not, really, don't be calling me right now. Thank you. Yes, there is, right? So, it depends on what the heck it is you're doing. You can't just say, like, okay, look, I'm making mermaid tales and I'm making art and I'm doing so. I'm not out in the ocean. I'm not teaching a group of kids how to swim. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, do I need these specific things? Now, look, I will say that because you and I are both, we both did the freediving certification course, which was awesome and really good. And I did that personally for me, not because I would like to hold up my little certificate and be like, hey guys, look at how cool I am. Though I do carry it in my wallet because I am a dork. But what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? But I didn't do that. I did that for me because I wanted to add to my mermaid experience. So I don't know. It's such an area. Expecting every mermaid out there to go through the same training to do different jobs is just it's not practical. It's not practical. It doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, and if there's someone who's trying to make like this big like blanket certification for mermaiding, like
no.
I'm not discrediting that as, like, a bad education. No education is a wasted education, but to say that you need this one certification that someone's made to try and certify mermaiding, not so sure about that.
And I've seen them out there. I can't remember what website I randomly, because, you know, when you're in business as a mermaid, you're looking around, you're seeing what people are up to, and people are also trying to pass off, like, oh, take my mermaid certification course and become a real mermaid. And it's like, okay, first of all, there's a couple of things wrong with that. But you have to be really aware, like, look at what they're actually offering, and just know right now, on this planet, there is no global certification for being a mermaid. There is no one who can or cannot give you this gift of, like, okay, now you're official.
Yeah. Now,
you know what I mean?
that being said, there is, oh shoot, my wallet's in my purse. There is,
well,
which is over there.
Place for it to be.
That's okay. There is this thing that you may have heard Courtney and I mention because it's local to us, and it's called, like, the Mertification or Mermaid Certification. That's different than, like, you know, a 16-hour course. This is literally a swim test that some pools will do to make sure you're safe as a mermaid. It might be a test or a class that a pool will make you take to, you know, be able to be swimming in your mermaid. And I've seen in the chat a lot of people are talking about, oh, you have to know how to swim. Yeah, that's a given. But this is more like...
Well, duh.
But you may have heard Courtney and I and other people in the Mermaids of BC pod talking about, oh yeah, I've got mermaid certified. That really just means it was a swim test from a pool to enable you to swim safely. Which is awesome, and so good, and so valid, and as a lifeguard and a swim teacher, 100% recommend. We're just gonna quickly throw out there, guys, if you want to be a mermaid and you want to swim as a mermaid, doesn't matter if it's professional, recreational, whatever, just, like, be safe, know how to swim. Do you need a lifeguard class? No. But, however, there are some things that are beneficial to have as a mermaid and a working mermaid, and this could vary from anything. I have, I'll say her by name because she loves me, our friend Mermaid Kaida in the Mermaids of BC pod. Fantastic person. We love her. She's one of our mods. And she does lots of Ren fairs and, like, birthday parties and stuff, and it's mostly dryland what she does. And she has been, like, a theater performer and actor, has done Ren fair for years and years and years. And that is what she used to make herself marketable. She's marketed herself as someone who's got theater experience, theater qualifications. Well, I don't know about, like, the qualifications, but, like, definitely, like, the experience under her belt. And that's, like, really what sets her apart as a professional. And it's definitely super helpful to have those, like, skills of improv under her belt before going out into the world and talking to kids and making magic and, like, running her business the way that is useful. And would I take an acting class in order to, like, make myself a better professional in this realm of YouTube entertainment? I'd say not, because people only like me for me, and I'm so bad at being a mermaid. Like, I'm, like, one of the worst people out there for, like, shalom, my name is Nerdmaid Faith, what's your name? Like, I can do it, like, I can be nice to kids, but, like, I mean, my friend, oh my gosh, Nautilus Sea-Nymph, if you are not following her, she has got, like, the most intricate, amazing backstory, and she's got the most beautiful voice as a mermaid, and I just love listening to her talk, and she's like, so I was a Viking mermaid, and I went and did this, and this is how I got my seashell, that's my necklace, and it's amazing!
Oh, good, yep.
It's so good. It's just so good. Oh my gosh. There's so many things that you can do to market yourself as a professional, and, like, there's something else I wanted to touch on, is that, like, there's different ways of doing professional mermaiding, and so some of it's, like, photo shoots, some of it's teaching classes, some of it's, like, doing Ren Fair performances, some of it is birthday parties, some of it is modeling, some of it is, like, shoots, some of it is tail making, some of it is Etsy shops, like, I mean, like, there's so many people that, like, poo-poo on themselves because they, like, don't have 10,000 Instagram followers, and they don't have, like, a full silicone tail, and they don't do gigs. They're like, I'm not a professional mermaid. But yet they're, like, you know, working their butt off doing mermaid classes at their local rec center. I'm like, whose idea was this? Whose idea was it to make this bar for mermaiding?
Yeah.
Like,
it's no good, because you know what, and it's such a terrible stereotype. Like, look, like, I do not have, like, 10K followers on Instagram, and I don't have 20,000 like some people on YouTube. Excuse me. Hey, I'm getting up there.
You're getting there.
Okay.
Go subscribe to Courtney.
No. But the thing is, like, I may not have this huge following, and I may not be the stereotypical silicone tail swimming, modeling Instagrammer mermaid, but I still turned this into a job. So there is more than one way to be a mermaid. There's more than one way to do it as a hobby. There's more than one way to do it as a profession. And just saying that, like, okay, well, excuse me, if you don't have a silicone tail, then you cannot pass go. You cannot collect $200. You know what I mean? You cannot proceed up the ladder. And I think that that's just absolute, it's stupid, like, oh, and if you don't have this many followers on Instagram, you can't be like, do you know what I mean? They're just, if you want something bad enough, you're going to find a way to do it, for starters.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how it happened with all the people who were just like, oh no, this is how you have to be a professional mermaid, and I'm just going to deal with my nose, I'll be right back. But you know what I mean, right?
Yes. I'll take this time to plug my TikTok. I did a video, which I'm very proud of. Actually, it was 2 videos about, like, different types of mermaids, like, choose your character. And one was, the last one in one of my videos was, like, an elitist. Someone was like, oh, only silicone, and, like, says they're a professional, but, like, only does a few vanity gigs a year. And that was based on a comment that I saw in a forum that someone said, where they're like, I'm really tired of elitists who are pro mermaids who do a couple gigs a year, who try to gatekeep the community. And it's like, it's so true. It's like, really, like, the people who tend to gatekeep professional mermaiding aren't people who do it as a full-time job.
Oh, that's the other thing that just makes me like, it just, I'm fine. Did you take it down off TikTok, though? I can't find it.
No, I think it's still up there. Follow me on TikTok at NerdMadeFaith. I make funny content.
Yeah,
I try.
She posts good stuff.
Thanks. I'm thinking of doing, like, it definitely won't get monetized, but I'm thinking of doing a compilation video on my YouTube of all my TikToks. I think that might be a decent idea.
Oh no, my favorite one is the piano playing one though. That one's the absolute bomb. Oh, I freaked out so bad. It was so good.
Yeah.
It's magical. It's a magical world. But yeah, back to, like, what we were saying.
Like gatekeeping and stuff.
Like gatekeeping, yeah, the people who say, like, oh no, you have to do this, this, and this to be a professional. I don't know. I feel like it's just such a, and you know what it is? This brings me right back to a point that I made in a podcast I did a while back, where I was just trying to say, like, and I've just totally lost my train of thought. Where was I going with that? Okay, Eric, what was the point I was trying to make before with the podcast? The abundance mentality. I got it.
Ooh.
I got it. Thank you.
Listen up, guys.
Abundance. Okay, above. Yeah, there we go. Abundance mentality. Sorry, I'm super distracted today. Too much excitement. But the thing is, the people who say that you can't do something because you haven't met, like, this, and this, it's like, are they saying this for your own good, or are they saying this because they're afraid of competition? And it's like, when you put that kind of mentality out there into the universe, it's like the people who come to me, oh, Courtney, why are you upset? Like, why are you giving all your information away? Aren't you afraid that people are going to just take your ideas and start their own businesses? Which people are doing, which is what I wanted, because the more people out there adding to the community, the bigger we get, the better we get, the more beauty there is out there in the world. Like, try and have, and I didn't always have that mentality, but, when I realized how much more powerful that is versus saying, like, oh, you can't do this because I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you do this. I can be the only professional mermaid in the area.
Yeah. No, there was literally, like someone I know was messaging me on Instagram, and they're like, oh man, it's like, it'd be totally my dream to work with, I won't say the tail name, but they're like, oh man, it would be totally my dream to work with, like, this tail maker. How'd you do it? And I was like this. I listed what I have to benefit from doing my reviews, blah, 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 and, be professional, and, like, this is how I did it, and, do it in the way that makes sense for you. And I think a lot of, like, gatekeeping, it's so frustrating because you don't know anyone's full story. You really don't.
No, exactly!
And, like, so if someone said, I mean, this isn't a hypothetical situation, this is a situation where I had a friend who was like,
subtle.
no, it's fine. character development
Okay.
has happened. I won't say who it is, but I had a friend who was
Okay.
saying, like, oh, like, you should get a silicone tail. And I was like, actually, that's kind of a sensitive subject for me because I don't have a lot of money. It's not practical for me at this point in time. And then they said something really insensitive about, like, my parents. And I'm like, honey boo, my parents are pastors. And I'm actually... they don't have that sort of money to give it to me as a birthday present. Maybe your family does, but that's not my situation. And I think you're lacking the perspective on why this isn't feasible for me. And like, I'm like, I am doing just fine as I am in my fabric tails, making YouTube videos that are making me some money, and I'm really happy with it. And you don't know my full story, and you can't tell me how I should be doing what I'm doing.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
But people always have to come in and chime in with their little opinions on things. It happens to me all the time. Like, oh, excuse me, silicone tail, you need one. Wait, you can't, you're not a real mermaid. Like, when are you going to start making silicone tails and all this kind of stuff? And you're like, does it ever occur to anybody that I'm actually really happy just doing, like, what I'm doing, how I'm doing it?
Yeah.
No? Okay, cool.
Yeah, like, you really don't know someone's full story and why they may or may not be able to do something. And, like, when it comes to getting certifications, like, someone's like, oh, why aren't you scuba certified? Like, why am I not scuba certified? One, it's a lot of money that I don't have. Two, like, I mean, in Vancouver, we definitely have a lot more options for being scuba certified because we live right near the ocean. But it's not super accessible to me. And, like, and where I am right now. And that's, you know, that's something I've decided. And people are like, oh, but you need scuba to be a professional mermaid. Let's talk about the certifications that you 100% would need to be a professional mermaid. So, for scuba, for example, if you are going to be a professional tank performer in an aquarium, which is definitely not the case in Canada, because Canada kind of has, like, laws and rules and regulations. But if you wanted to be a professional mermaid in an aquarium tank, and the aquarium says you need to be free dive trained, you need to have your scuba certification, that is for them to cover their legal butts. And so if you want to do that, and if you want to do that tank work at said aquarium that has told you this is exactly what you need, then yes, you need scuba certification to be a professional mermaid working specifically in a aquarium tank in this specific aquarium. Notice how I went from professional mermaid to performing in an aquarium. The umbrella doesn't apply to all of professional mermaiding.
It does not! I know!
Now, it might be a good idea, in fact, but if we were to talk about what you actually need, what's a good idea to do professional mermaiding, I think we might just bring in a special guest. Please hold, my phone is freezing, but...
well, hang tight till I come back.
Yes, we are going to have a special guest come in, because, so, let's just talk about some mermaid certifications that were mentioned, is, like, stuff like lifeguard thing, water safety instructor, CPR, and here we go, the man himself, Wyatt, my boss and friend.
Hello.
How are you?
Oh, we're good. How are you? Sorry.
Good. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, guys, can you hear?
Yeah.
Oh, I think someone subscribed or something.
Somebody did something. I heard something.
Yeah,
I don't know what that was.
I think you guys are covering my little Streamlabs thing, so I'll have to move that elsewhere. My bad. Sorry, whoever subscribed or whatever. There we go. Just move it right here. Okay, so we were talking about certifications and what you need to be a professional mermaid. And so what sort of certifications, or like what would you need if you're to be a professional mermaid? Why is it important to have lifeguarding, and what would you be doing if you had, say, lifeguarding, first aid, CPR, and water safety instructor, as someone who teaches it?
Right.
And manages pools.
So it's always good, of course, especially if you're doing it in any term of employment, to have a background in it, both from a liability perspective, insurance, as well as just having the knowledge to what to look for if something goes wrong, right? So as soon as you're responsible for the care of others, it kind of steps up in the kind of training that's required to keep people safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I teach swim lessons and stuff, and if you were to go and teach swim lessons, say, hey, I do swim lessons, I market myself as a private swim teacher, I'd love to teach your kids swimming lessons,
Mhm.
and you just kind of went out and did it as just some yahoo that didn't have a water safety certification, it could get you on hot water. And the same thing sort of goes to mermaiding.
For sure. And like as an employer, we have to make sure that our staff are trained, are annually recertified, and participate in not just having the certifications, but the regular training that goes into that at our facilities and stuff, to just keep people safe and make sure that people know what to do if something goes wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, having that training to really direct a crowd in case of emergency is super important.
Mm-hmm.
I work at a facility, not as a lifeguard, but doing boring adult stuff. But I'm kind of in charge of a building, and when stuff goes wrong, a lot of people don't know what to do. A lot of people end up doing this. But what you need is someone who can take charge and knows a procedure and has a set safety plan in mind. And when 100%. You're working, especially if you're a mermaid and a mertender team, if you have that same sort of training together, if you've both got a water safety instructor or a lifeguard, if you've both got that, then it's gonna really help in case anything goes wrong. To be hey, we're gonna do this protocol. I have a friend who has a stipulation in her professional mermaid party contract is in case there's an emergency, this is our plan, this is our procedure, and I may need to get out a tail. And yeah.
So it's also important to know what to look for, right? So lots of people aren't trained to what actually to look for if something goes wrong. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's important to have safety backup there, because it does go unnoticed, right? Mm-hmm. And it takes under 10 seconds for something to go wrong. And that's what research has proven. And for example, I did contract work for BCIT, and they at their marine campus, and I was there for safety, and even though there were experienced instructors, we're talking about long-time Navy sailors, right? These guys are intense. They're doing raft training, survival training, and I was there in their training facility just for the safety of the participants, right? And it's not that they didn't know what to necessarily do, but they're not there for the safety.
Yeah.
They're there to instruct. So it's important to have safety personnel there, right?
Yeah.
So you look time and time again, and the recommendations of a lot of research and stuff has been put into this. And it recommends that you have someone there specifically trained for safety.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's so important for people who are professional mermaids to have someone who's their safety and their guard, and especially if you're in water with kids and stuff. It goes both ways. There's the thing that says mermaids should have lifeguard certification, and Brain a Mermaid talks about how much she's saved kids from drowning while she's in her mermaid tail, because it's a different environment for kids when they're in the water with a pool party, woohoo, and they might be a little more excited than they normally are and go too far.
Yeah.
The mermaid who has the lifeguard certification can be heck yeah, yank the kid out, and their mertender can do follow-up. But alternatively, if the mermaid gets in trouble and
yeah, so I wouldn't recommend especially if you're dressed up or something like that, to the training, obviously if you have it, that's great, but you almost definitely need someone there, as even in a backyard setting,
Yeah,
right?
Oh, yeah.
100%.
To especially super easy to do. If you're in Canada, or even if you're in a state or something, contact the local agency. So in Canada, it's usually the Life Saving Society, and you can just say like, "Hey, I'm having this party, and I'm looking for a lifeguard," and they actually have a way to contact everyone that's certified and say, "Hey, are you interested in working this gig?" So it's super easy to find somebody, and it's just super important for the safety of everybody, right? Like, the last thing we want to do is deal with the worst, right? Which is someone that just ends up at the bottom of a pool.
Yeah. And, like, I think a lot of things that people, like, converse about in this whole, like, oh, do you need certifications? And some people say, no, I don't have a certification, you know, oh, I swim in, like, a pool with, you know, and there's lifeguards in the pool while I'm doing a party. Or then there's people that, you know, say, oh, I have this, and this, and this. Really what it comes down to is the legality and what is going to save your butt if things go wrong, which
it's going to save your butt.
I'm going to pause, for a sec. Like Courtney, like, you take payments via PayPal. Like, you could easily take them via e-transfer, but why do you take them via PayPal?
Oh, for what okay, I hear roosters. Is that...
Yeah, sorry, that's a lot of background noise there.
Thank you for... No, it's okay. I just thought I was losing my mind there for a second. I'm like, oh, am I hearing roosters again? Like, what is this? No, via PayPal, like, do you mean specifically for my shop, or, because...
I guess, for your shop, like, it's...
Well, for my shop and stuff, it's purely just what works best with my online platform, because I don't actually have, like, a retail center. I'm not, I don't have a brick and mortar shop anywhere, so PayPal has just been the easiest for me to get from the client, the consumer, to my bank account. It's always been the easiest way to do it. But for any of the coaching services and things that I follow, you still need to have documents and stuff that people sign to make sure that you got your butt covered.
Yeah. It's really just a big, like, cover your butt sort of thing, which is, like, a lot of people, what they don't take into consideration and is insurance. And it sometimes becomes a hot button topic, is, like, Mermaid Kelly, she is a big advocate for this, and I love her. She's really good at making mermaiding accessible to people, whether it's recreational or professional. But she is very upfront about the fact that you have to have insurance. And some people who are maybe not so versed in the real world and stuff, and it's definitely a bigger deal in the States, because, no offense to the States, but you guys like to sue people a lot more than Canada.
But, and it has been something that we've seen trending a lot more in Canada as well, specifically in Ontario, it's been a bigger thing in the industry. Even with professional lifeguards, we've seen a lot more legal action being taken. So it's important that you stay protected, right?
Yeah.
So especially as soon as you're doing anything professionally, and you're making money off of it, it adds a lot more responsibility, especially if you're taking care of others.
Yeah, and so, like I was saying, like, people get sort of offended when someone says, oh, you need to have insurance. They're like, you're in gatekeeping. I don't need insurance. You're just trying to make me spend money that I don't have. And how dare you try and tell me how to be a professional mermaid.
So if you want to rent any kind of space from us at any of our facilities, you have to have liability insurance.
Yeah. Well, same with me.
Schools pay it, swim clubs pay it, training partners pay it. It's just, everybody has to pay that insurance, right? And like, you could talk to any insurance agent, and they're gonna say, like, you need this insurance.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I run a facility.
we won't even rent you the space unless you have it.
Literally same. Like, I run a facility, and I rent out rooms for parties, weddings, graduations, not right now. But I rent out things, and I say, I'm sorry, I need your liability insurance, because if something goes wrong, we don't want our charity getting in hot water because of XYZ. And it's like, it's so boring. It's so boring. We've all been to the DMV, or ICBC, or we've all, done insurance stuff, and it's so boring. And if you're like 16, 17, 18, 19, you're definitely not thinking about it. I definitely wasn't thinking about it when I did my younger sister's Mermaid birthday party, the one gig I've done, but I mean, it was my sister, so it's not as big of a deal. But, like, if you're talking about clients, if you're talking about renting facilities, if you're talking about, like, being something different, offering a service that might put people at risk.
Yep.
As boring as it sounds, it's important, and it's far less exciting than to, you can be like, click, look, I got my new mermaid tail. It's a silicone from Mertailor, ta-da! And I'm one step closer to being a professional. And then you could be like, click, oh, that's my boyfriend, hi. You'd be like, click, I have, certifications. Here's my little baggie of, hey, look, Wyatt, that's your name on there.
Oh.
I have my little baggie of certifications. You can be like, lifeguard certified, ready to be a professional mermaid.
Yeah.
And then you can go to your insurance broker and shell out $500 for yearly aquatic performing insurance and be like, just got insurance.
Yep.
Like my photo. No one's gonna do that. Like, people aren't sharing that part of their journey, but it's really important.
100%. And having done different training, both training and just lifeguarding for gigs and companies and stuff. Like, the insurance isn't that expensive for like lifeguarding.
Yeah.
And especially if you're hiring
it's
a
so
lifeguard that carries liability insurance, right? It's not going to be that much of an extra cost to you. Like
you said earlier about finding a lifeguard at your local agency and having that lifeguard carrying liability insurance, that's just gonna make like your life like just a big weight off your shoulders.
If you advertise it as a hey, every event that we perform has water safety personnel that are trained and insured, it will increase business, right? Yep. Because it creates that not fly-by-night kind of like, this is really sketchy, but this is someone who's taking this professionally and taking this seriously, and safety sells. Parents care a lot about the safety, and so, that's where you just add it in your sales pitch. Hey, I'm trained, I'm insured.
Yeah.
You can hire me, right?
Yeah, you actually bring up a really good point in terms of what people consider when, like, that's something we didn't talk about, Faith. We were saying, like, when you're considered professional, or do you need to have this certification to be considered professional? I think because professional mermaiding is such a vague, like, in the clouds, fairy tale kind of a land, sometimes, and like Wyatt said, like, more often than not, having that certification actually, like, makes you, like, a concrete, like, entity where it's like, okay, now I actually have certification in X, Y, and Z, now hire me because I'm good to go. So maybe that's maybe one aspect of looking at it differently, but then again, that also has to factor into what you're actually doing as a professional mermaid. So, my little side note.
Those are very good points, both of y'all. It's, I was just thinking, when you were talking about marketing yourself, is like, when I was, 14, 15, I needed to make money because I had no money to spend on mermaid tails, and so I was babysitting, probably from the time I was about 12 to 15, I was regularly babysitting, and I was like, it was so much better for me to say, I am babysitting certified, and I have my first aid. I think I had my first aid at that point, and, like, that sort of thing, and I have my criminal record check, and it just really elevates, your hireability. And for companies, if like, there's places that will hire mermaids. Like, not all mermaiding is a fake it till you'll make it, hustle yourself.
Yeah.
A lot of times, there's companies that will hire people to be mermaids, whether they're professional mermaid troops, whether it's resorts, blah, blah, blah. And some of these companies, such as Siren Pod, they'll do their training in-house. But there's other places, like aquariums, that say, we need you to have X, Y, Z. And sometimes those aquariums really suck and say you need to be this size, which is terrible. On a whole other subject. But, yeah, so, like, I guess that's kind of our answer to the question, do you need certifications to be a professional mermaid? And it's a very complex subject, and I think it's, sometimes people get caught on how everyone's different and how the industry is different and how it's changed. And when it comes down to it, yes, you're gonna need something to save your butt if you're doing something very particular. Do you need certifications to be a professional mermaid? No. You need to mermaid in the way that's going to make sense for you and what you want to do for a business as a professional, rather than what someone is telling you to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think that wraps it up. I think that sums up the point well enough. Do you guys have anything else to add to it?
I think we nailed it.
I mean, I just wanted to add, like, as soon as you have more on there, that you can command a higher wage, right? So it's just going to benefit you more in the long end, right? So, like,
there's
the
really
experience
there's certifications are not a bad idea or like a bad investment. Like, you know, you're only going to benefit from getting certifications.
I think where the problem is in when people start deciding what that is for you, what that looks like for your business in a field that is just so new and so developing, and everybody is doing something different, and has their business has different needs and whatnot. I feel like that's where we get into that, like, sort of awkward, uncomfortable area when other people are trying to decide what that means. Like, what does professional mermaid actually mean? Then it's like, okay, well, there we go.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Well, Wyatt, thank you so much for joining in on the call and bringing in your expertise. Like I said, Wyatt teaches lifeguarding, first aid, water safety instructor, and has a buttload of other certifications. So if you ever need to talk about pools or pool safety, he's your guy.
He's the guy.
And he's unemployed right now, so...
I'm like the definition. I do it professionally. I manage I manage 2 indoor facilities and 3 outdoor facilities that are seasonal. And do contracts for several large municipalities in the recreational space. And we deal with a lot of clients and a lot of clientele, and do a lot of safety, and I have a background in safety management. So always happy to contribute to the conversation. So thank you, Faith. Thank you, Courtney, for having me on.
You're the best.
Thank you.
An aquatic pool nerd, a professional aquatics nerd.
Okay, you need that on a t-shirt, Wyatt.
Gotta get me one printed in the mermaid font.
I'll do it.
There you go.
For some salty. I don't know, mermaid.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much. I'll see you guys later.
Right on. Catch you later.
Thank you for contributing to the tea.
The tea. Sippy, sippy, sippy.
Yes. Now, I realized that we didn't talk about the final thing I wanted to talk about in the last about 15 minutes or so of this live stream, which is an important topic for Courtney and I, which is just gatekeeping in general in the mermaid community. So we kind of wrapped up the whole discussion on professional things. If you guys want to continue the conversation elsewhere, that's totally good. All of y'all in the chat that are great. We got 35 people watching. This is awesome. So good.
Pretty good.
But let's talk, because I mean, I'm sure out of these like 36 people that were watching, I'm pretty sure not everyone wants to be a professional mermaid, but I'm sure a great many of you guys are already mermaids, or are wanting to mermaid, or just enjoy watching us two giant dorks talk about mermaid tales for hours on end. What are some of the problems that come with gatekeeping in the mermaid community?
Oh gosh, why are you asking me? I mean, do we have a couple of hours? Like,
I mean, you got a podcast.
It's gonna be a hot minute. Like, I don't know, because there's so many different like areas to cover with that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I personally experienced some weird stuff in this community that I just think like, oh really? This is how we're doing it? I don't know.
We got Mermido says, I'm seen to be the one of the people calling out plus size gatekeeping. Ooh, that's a good one.
That is the thing for sure, 100%. I'm just checking. Did we miss anything else comment-wise? Water type nerd. Oh, I didn't wear my water type shirt. Okay, sorry.
Oh, you should.
I like that. But it's just so true. Gatekeeping is just, it has so many different meanings to so many different people. For me personally, like, I'm a bit of an odd person. So I'm always like, I feel like odd duck. I'm a unique little entity. And I've always kind of felt like I sit somewhere like on the outside of the mermaid community somewhere in my own special little land. I don't get invited into like the inner circle of all the clicky, whatever you call it, stuff. You know that feeling?
Yeah, I know that feeling. I know that feeling. Cough, cough. Us at California Mermaid Convention. Cough, cough.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. What are you going to do, though? Like, when you experience it, I think what you have to know is, like, you're not alone. Like, everybody's going to experience it on some level. No, I don't know. Like, I used to let it really bother me, especially in my early days as a mermaid, feeling like, oh, well, you know, I'm not petite and I'm not stereotypical. Like, I wear graphic tees. I drink out of BB-8 mugs. Like, I'm not your fairy princess, like, super girly mermaid, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And when you don't fit into that box that all of these other really gorgeous, perfect, like pristine mermaids, and then we all put sort of our image onto other people, and it's like the whole thing.
Yeah.
I don't know where you want me to go with that. Like, I could go so many different directions.
Yeah. Oh man, there was Clara says, I was looking at mermaids in the UK, and there's this mermaid who could only get to swim in the ocean. The comments broke my heart. Like, this is what happens when you let Star out of padded cells. Oh man, that's dumb. There's like in the mermaid community, I think that generally we're pretty open and we're pretty accepting of people. But it just takes like a few bad comments and like not very nice things to make someone question whether or not they should be a mermaid and whether or not they can mermaid. And I think that a lot, like, for most, like, so we're gonna say some things and they might be somewhat offensive, but a lot of people, and these are offensive to myself and Courtney, is like a lot of people who go into mermaids sometimes aren't fully 100% there, and not always 100%, you know, got their life together and like solid in the whole mental situation, because you and I are both a little woohoo. Like, it's just, that's the truth, is that mermaiding is an escape, and it's an escape from reality, and unfortunately some people's realities are really bad, and they can't deal with their reality very well. And when it comes to a hobby that does require, generally speaking, a tangible object that costs money, that's where some people can get a little huffy about things. And
a little, she says.
Like, honestly, there is Digimers like, oh shell, I'm called out. I mean, it's true. I was the weird kid in high school, and you know, I didn't have a lot of money. And I mean, I like went on this. There was someone in the community that was being like really mad. They were being the big mad that someone was saying, "Hey, maybe you shouldn't buy a monofin that's $20." And this person was like clearly very upset. And I think they definitely had some stuff going on in their personal life, financially and mentally. And it was just kind of frustrating to see, like, it's just, it's frustrating when there's something that you really want to do, but there are a few bare minimum requirements, and sometimes people aren't super nice about those bare minimum requirements. And then there's the non-requirements that Mermaid was talking about. She's like, I'm always open to talk about fat phobia, LGBT phobia, and ableism in the mermaid community. There are things that are not requirements, like a gender, a sexuality, a nationality, a certain body type, a certain ability. Like, those things aren't issues in the, like, to become a mermaid.
No.
And that's,
And it's also really funny because my sort of, not my sales pitch is not the word I'm looking for here, but kind of my sort of reason for existing and doing what I do in the mermaid community is all about sort of living your life so mermaid, and I gotta put that in there somewhere and insert it into every live stream I do. But for me, mermaiding was more than just swimming in a mermaid tail, and it was like, how can I incorporate mermaids and that kind of existence into every single thing that I do? Can you close the door, please? Sorry, you guys are so distracting. I love you so much. You're my favorite person in the whole world. Thank you. A wonderful wife, aren't I? But it's just and where was I going with that, dude? I was talking about something. Oh, yes. So mermaiding in general, I know that it can be so hard when people, and I've seen that too, where people will come to me and I'll be like, oh, look, I just got this monofin, and, you know, and I know what monofins cost. I know that I've got a stupid amount of monofins, and it's been collected over many, 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 many moons here, people. But the thing is like, you don't necessarily need anything to be a mermaid, but our community has kind of put this like branding on us that like, no, you actually do need to fit into this little square box. If you see people who are living their lives, and it's such a hard thing to just judge people off of social media, because social media, and that's a whole other kettle of fish, but social media is such a dangerous game because you're only ever seeing people at their best. You're not seeing, you know, I don't wake up first thing in the morning and take a picture of myself with like my retainers in and my hair in a braid and bun on my head and like my stupid pajamas that just don't make any sense, because who is that big of a Canucks fan anyways? And like, honestly, okay, so you know what I mean? It's such an interesting thing. And then having any standards on something that is like, and I mean no offense, but is like make-believe is just the stupidest thing I've ever heard of.
I mean, like, this is like oh,
how
poor
can you
me. Like, this is such like a oh, poor me thing. But like when people like, you know, kind of like are mean to me about wearing glasses underwater, or like being glasses wearing
Who
mermaid.
did it? Bring them on.
I'm
who
like,
said,
oh, so many people, just like trolls online. But it's like, I'm sorry, my pretend hobby, my
is causing discomfort.
my pretending to be a mythical creature is wrong. Right.
You see the vein in my head? This is how upset I am. The vein has spoken, okay?
Yeah, but like the thing is that like it doesn't just apply to wearing glasses, is that there is like sort of this like picture of the perfect mermaid. And let's be real, it's Ariel and Madison. That's the picture of the perfect mermaid. And so for someone who is a guy, like I have like tons of my guy friends, Wyatt included, who like, you know, will mermaid, and then someone's like, oh, that's gay, or like, oh, mermen don't exist. It's like, well, neither do mermaids,
oh my God,
and neither does your sensitivity. Just stop.
No, I filmed a video this week on Monday, and I've got some tea, man. Oh, angry Courtney's gonna come out that one. It's actually bad. Like, I was actually contemplating not posting it. Now that I've said it, of course I have to post it, but oops. But it's just like, anybody can do this. It's not just like anybody can be a mermaid.
Yeah.
It's not a thing.
Yeah.
Make me climb through the screen, because I'll do it.
Yeah.
It's just like
like it's so sad. Like, there's people that say like, oh, I want to be a mermaid, but like, you know, I've got this disability, or I'm XYZ, or I live here, or whatnot. I'm like, it just makes me so sad. I'm like, who put that idea in your head?
Yeah, where did it come from?
I'm sorry. Does the cart on FinFund's website say, I'm sorry, not open to you?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Then
they're
perfect.
like,
You can buy that mermaid tail.
You can do it. You just like, I don't know where it came from, but you know what? I feel like the state that our planet is in probably has something to do with that. I got to deal with my nose again for a second here, but I honestly, mermaid nose really like hasn't been swimming in weeks, and her nose still runs like a faucet. Like, please, it's perfect. What are you gonna do? I don't know. It's also how we're raised. I know that when I first was like, okay, family, I'm gonna be a mermaid, they're like, you're a little bit old for this, aren't you? You're like, this is really what you want to do? And then when I was like, even better, when I was like, okay, well, I'm actually gonna quit my day job, and I'm gonna do this full time, and then everyone's like, are you now? You're really not. I'm fortunate. Most of my family gives me the thumbs up for all of this.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like a lot of people probably get the side eye. They're probably like, telling their family and friends and being told like, oh, why can you do this? So they're already getting that seed planted in there.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't help when other people in the community don't show support.
Yeah.
And I just think that it's so stupid because there are so many of us now to be like, oh, well, you know what, you're not good enough to be a mermaid, or you can't be a mermaid because you look like this, or you can't be a mermaid because you think like that, or whatever.
Yeah. And
my kind of theory, sorry.
Like, my thing is that, like, I love community. I love the mermaid community, and I swim with so many mermaids. And, like, the thought that I would never, like, if I was to ever, like, swim with someone and be like, oh, I'm not going to feature this person in my video, I'm going to edit them out, like...
Yeah.
Like, why would I do that? Unless they're a terrible person and I, don't feel comfortable with them being associated with me. That's a whole different story. But if it's like, if say I like went and did a meetup and, there's like 10 different people and one person was slightly different in this way, shape, or form. And I was like, no, that doesn't go along with my brand, doesn't go along with the whole mermaid image. That's awful! And yet there's some tail makers that do it. So, there's that. But, like, diversity is so important, and in a community that, like, let's be real, is primarily filled with white females, it's so important to celebrate diversity and, like, encourage people who are not neurotypical, who, don't have this, perfect set of normativeness, like...
Normativeness.
I don't know. I've run out of words. I've been eloquent this entire stream.
You've been really good at that. But it's just so true because you know what? Like, I could list off all of my different things that make me the way that I am that's a little bit unique and a little bit off kilter to some people. But you know what? Like, I mean, maybe that's what the world needs. Maybe we should start a tag and be like, okay, let's all make content to actually explain that we're not all, not everybody's perfect. And it's just...
And we're not the same.
And we're not the same. And and it's so important because if you actually look at fish in the sea, for example, let's get so broad, shall we? But fish in the sea, look how many different fish, even fish of the same species that look different. And everybody has something unique to bring to the table. And what a sad, pathetic world it would be if we all were exactly the same.
Yeah.
Like, that's just, as an artist, personally, I'm just like, no.
Yeah.
That would be so boring.
Bringing it back to the whole thing about professional mermaids, like... there's a number of, like, professional mermaids in our community that, like, are fantastic and we love them all. And they, like, all have different things. One person is, like, a gothic siren. One person is a plus-size mermaid. One person has sort of this, like, shy persona. Someone else has this, and someone else is, like, super into, like, sports and is more of a sporty mermaid. Like... Yeah. They're all different, and, like, yes, they may be sharing the same space, and they may be competing, but that's, like, the fun of being an artist, is everyone bringing something different to the table. Yeah. Because if the, like, 5-6 people who did mermaid birthday parties in our area all had the same green aerial tail, like...
How boring.
What's gonna happen to that child that's like, oh, I want a mermaid at my birthday party, but... Like, oh, I don't like pink. Like, I want to, I want to see, like, a dark, I love, like, dark mermaids, or, like...
Yeah.
Anyways,
no,
that's just
totally get what you're saying, and it's just so true. And I think the biggest mistake that people make, even tail makers, myself included, we all think, like, oh, well, I can be the only one, or I'm the only one doing this. I was the first one doing it. I can be the only one doing it. I'm not talking about anybody specific, but there you go. But it would be like, if I go into my closet right now and I bust out a couple of pairs of shoes, you think that all those shoes, now granted there's a lot of Nike in there because my husband's got issues, but you know what? There are so many different shoe designers. There are so many different clothing designers. The world is full. Why we would want to narrow our thinking into this stupid little box and say this is the only way that we can be, and if we don't fit into that box, then we can't play, is just stupid, because there's going to be somebody out there who resonates with resonates with what you're doing, or resonates with what I'm doing, and with English is not my first language, but anyways. But yeah, so you know what I mean? Like, it's such an interesting world, and I feel like if we all embraced what made us different and what made us special, it might be a little bit easier.
And I think that you inspire a lot of people because you are, like, really open about a lot of the things that make
Exactly.
you you, and you try to be, like, within reason, but you do, like, you know, share about your, like, for example, your struggles with foot pain and foot cramps, and, like, that's something that's, like, you know, you're trying to make aware of and make people say, like, know and hear and feel included and feel like they're being represented. And, like, I mean, that's not a problem for me because I'm a stupid unicorn that everyone hates. But Mahina forever. But, like, you know, I've got the glasses and I've got my perspective as a pastor's kid, you know, doing mermaiding. And that's something that I hope that people can see and relate to and can inspire them to be like, oh, if this, like, 5'0" weirdo from Canada can do it, I can do it too.
5'0" weirdo from Canada? Oh, jeez. Oh my goodness, you're hysterical. But that's, I think, the point. You made that point just now so well, is like, if we represent ourselves to the fullest, you think that, what was it? Okay, things you learn off of TikTok. What is there, like 4 other people on the planet that are exactly like you or some nonsense, whatever this fake statistic was. But if you think about it, the number of people out there who are like you are not the only one. There are 7 billion people, 7.3 or 7.5 billion people on the planet. Anyway, like, there's all these people. The chances are you're going to reach out and you're going to tell your story. You're going to say, like, look, I actually live with this, this, and this, and I have conquered this, this, and this, and here's how I did it. Here's, you know what, share your knowledge and share your passion and share your love, and who knows who you're going to be able to help. And that's the biggest part of my mermaid experience, when I get messages via Instagram or wherever, email, and people are letting me know, like, oh, hey, you know, like, I put out a video a while back talking about art and, like, being an artist and how to, like, persevere and how to keep going, and somebody, like, reached out to me and was like, oh my gosh, this really impacted me as an artist. Forget, like, anything mermaiding and everything aside. And they were like, oh yeah, this actually had a profound effect on me. By the way, here's, like, the finished piece that I did. Gorgeous artist. Oh my gosh. Wow, the work. Whew. But beside the point, I just realizing that, like, sharing that little piece of myself actually helps somebody. You never know who you're going to reach out to and who you're going to help by being a little bit vulnerable and by loving yourself, you know?
Yeah. So at the end of the day, we want to inspire people to be mermaids, and if they're inspired to be a professional mermaid, we want to encourage people to do it in the best way that they can and within their skills and talents, as well as safely to cover their butt and make sure that no one gets hurt. So that is, I think, where we're going to end the stream. We've been talking for a long time. I'm just going to give a few shout-outs to the people in the chat. Shout-out to Siren Sadie's, our love. Shout-out to Anthony. Shout-out to Cat Al, Mermido for being awesome. Clara for being awesome. Angie. Widget the Mermaid. Hey, Ariana. Mary, who's been here for a long time. Brandy. Rodney. Merman Rodney, great to see you. And who else? Digimer, of course, for being amazing admin, keeping everyone on track. Love you all. Jay Cannon, Horror Beauty Effects, Bryson, my love, thank you for joining. And Courtney, we will see you guys later. Also, by the way, Courtney's doing a live stream with Finnis on...
Oh, yeah, with Finnis.
Yeah, please promote that.
Tomorrow at 11 a.m. Oh my gosh. If you want the details, swim on over to my Instagram at Vancouver Mermaid, and I've got it through my bio, link in my bio. So join me so I'm not alone. It's going to be crazy. I'm so nervous, you guys.
All right. We will see you all later. Bye.
Okay, bye.